All right, we're live. Perfect. Nice. It worked. So today we're just talking about Unit 1 review. Now, if you remember the beginning of the year, we did Unit 1. And there was a lot to it. Huge scope to it. A lot of different topics. Today, this is really narrowed down quite a bit. Quite a bit, okay? But the main thing from Unit 1 was this normal curve. Now remember, if you have really large numbers, like a lot of people being surveyed or asked to get data, right? If you have like hundreds of thousands of people, then some things, maybe intelligence or height or some other things, age, not age. There's some data that's going to fit into a normal curve like this, where most of the individuals or values are right towards the mean. What do we call this again? The mean is what? Mu. So this symbol is mu, right? And actually it's more of like a U with a long line on the side. Okay. 100% of all the data is under the entire normal curve. And then when you start to break it down using the empirical rule, you see that from this mu in the middle, if we move out one standard deviation from the mu, we move out in either direction, we have 68% of all of our values. Okay, that's how that always works. You just want to remember as well, the standard deviation, sigma, is just an increment. It's an increment from the mu. Okay, so I'll just write an example over here. If I have right here, 50 is my mu, and our standard D is 10. What values am I going to have here at 1 standard D, 2 standard D, -1 standard D, -2 standard D? What am I going to have here at 1 standard deviation? What was it? 60. The increment is 10. If you're going 1 up, you're going to get here to 60. How about if I go 2 standard deviations up? 70. How about the other direction? -1 standard D? 40. Good, good. We got it. -2? Good job. So these are the actual values from those standard deviations. These aren't the percentages. These are actually, if you start at 50, go up 10, go up 10, go down 10, go down 10. It's always that same increment. That's what I want to point out. With this, 1 standard deviation from the mean, 68%. 2 standard deviations from the mean, 95. 3, you get all the way to 99.7. Okay. So that's the basics. These are the basics. You have to know empirical rule for sure. You have to know how to find the values moving away from the mean. It's not that. It's not that. All right. The other thing that is related to kind of the basics here is that an outlier is if it's greater than plus or minus 3.4. Actually, it's greater than or equal to. Go ahead and add that equal to sign there. All right, so looking at this, if, say, the average height is 5'9", okay, what would an outlier be? Just kind of give me an outlier kind of height. 7 foot. If you're over 7 feet, you're really far over as far as your value goes. You're really far over. You're probably an outlier. How about in the other direction? How many? 4 feet. If you're 48 inches tall, you're on the shorter side there. It's fine. Okay. I think the smallest person in the world ever was like 28 inches tall. Had a genetic disease that didn't allow him to grow. Okay. So you could see that if you're really short or really tall, your distance away from the mu, that's greater in either direction. All right, this is the main thing for today. This is the thing that we're going to deal with for all the classwork too. And I'm going to have to pull this off real quick. I want to point out over here. Now let's look at this first. Looks great. All right. You guys good? All right. Z-score, all you need for the Z-score is your value. Okay, we're going to be dealing with SAT, math tests here. So it would be your value you got on the test. The mean is the average. Standard deviation down here, sigma. All those things are going to be needed to find your Z-score. You're going to be given these two things. You're going to be given those two things. All you have to do is find the z-score with the different value you'll put in there. So here's my first example, and this example and these values are going to be for all of our A through D. So SAT scores in math, I'm saying the average, the mu is 510. X sub 1 is going to be whatever you got on that test, or in case of part A, the score is 680. So if you have a 680 score on the math SAT, and we want to find what percentile it is, I want to point out over here. So everybody just look over here on this board first. I don't know that I pointed this out. I didn't. So you might want to jot this one down. So with this, we have these pieces of information. We have mu, we have sigma, and we have our value for x. That allows us to get our z-score. Then we look on the chart. That allows us to get our percentile, right? So here's the deal. If I knew the percentile, I could look on the chart, and I'll show you how to do this to get the z-score. From there, if I had other piece of information, I'd be able to solve and find these three things. Okay. So this is how the flow goes like this every single time. So if you're confused on when you look for the z-score or whatnot, that's how we're going to approach it. So what percentile is a scope or is a score of 680? What is our first step? What is our first step? Do we have any information about the z-score? We have to find it. We know we're looking for what? Percentile. So let's use the three things we have here to find our z-score. And our three things are, let's see, here's our value, x sub 1. Here's our mean. Here's our sigma. Go right at it. Let's go ahead and do it. Z is equal to, we're going to go 680 minus 510 over 100. You know, I might change it up just a little bit. I'm going to make this 512. You'll see why. All right, so that is going to give us our z-score. Z-score. That is going to give us our percentile. Okay, so all I did was, I looked here, this is going to be the z-score formula. Starred out, so you know you need to have that. Plug in your x sub 1, mu, sigma. Work it out. Minus 512 divided by 100. All right, how many people got 1.68 for their z-score? Everybody get that? Okay, so we're good at this part. That's great, because I feel like that's probably the most complicated part. But let's go ahead and do this right here. I want you to look at your z-score chart here, and we're gonna go in a little bit. There we go. It's so hard to move this upside down. Right. So we have 168. We want to find the percentile. Everything on the inside, all these values, are the scores that give us our percentiles. On the side is our z-score, and on the top is our z-score. So how does that work again? Let's look. If I need to find 1.68, what row am I looking at? Let's look at our rows. Our rows. Am I going to look here at 0.8? No. Where should I look, obviously?
1.6.
1.6 right here. But why do they have all these columns? Remind me why there are all these columns. Yes. Good. So all these you can see 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Those are like dimes, 40 cents, 50 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents. Here we have $1.60. But we need 162 or 168. So I go over to the 0.08. Those little 8 cents I need to make correspond to the 1.6. So where those things meet, what do we have? 0.95 and 35. we get down to here. Because that's saying 1.6, 1.6, and 0.08 where they meet. That is our percentile. So we're going to have to do a conversion, no big deal. We get 0.9535. What is that as a percent? Good. All right. How do we feel about letter A? Good? We can do that, right? Okay. So if you could do letter A, you could definitely do letter D because it's just going the other direction. A and D are very similar. Connor.
Does that mean that 95% of them got it? Like 95% got a score of 680?
No. That means, well, you can think of it this way. This is saying that your score of 680, over here, 680, that you did better than 95.35%.
So you're ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So really, 4% and change did better than you. It's a pretty good score then. Okay. All right, so part B is almost the same, except in this case, you're going to be doing what percentage was your SAT, PSAT math score. So if you don't remember, go ahead and put in like 580. If you don't remember, put 580 in there. But do you remember what you got on the math, PSAT, SAT for math, for the one test you took recently, the most recent test? So I'll let you guys go and work that one out. You're finding what? We know these things. We know these things. We're going to find our z-score. We're going to find our percentage. So set up your z. Find your z. Use the chart. Find the percent. Easy. Or at least we can do it. Okay, I'm going to call on somebody so you can work with your neighbor if they are helpful. I'm calling someone to help with this one. You know what? Yeah, so put like 580 in there. Yeah, if you don't remember your number, just put 580. But if you know your math score number. Yeah. What's that? Nah, just go with 580 then. Okay, we're going to start. I need somebody. Anybody want to volunteer? Jared. All right. Jared had 560 for the math SAT. So what do I put up here? What am I going to put? Let's look again, right? We put x of 1, 560, minus 512 over 100. This ends up giving you, is that 40.48? Or 0.48. And then we're going to go ahead and put that into a percentage. What is our percentage from that? Let's look at our table here, because some folks might need a little more work on that. Let's look up here. So if I'm looking for, that's funny. If I'm looking for 0.48, what row do I need to go down to? What row? As far as dimes go, we're at what? 0.4, right? 0.4. And then I need to go over to the row that has 0.08, and we get here at 0.6844. What percentage is that?
On this? On the Oh, really? I have no idea. Probably somewhere near there.
What'd you get, Brian?
I got 37.45.
37.45.
Yeah.
What was your score?
40.
Is that much difference? Just that. Okay. Did you get that?
Same thing.
You got the exact same score? Were you sitting next to each other?
No. She was in a different classroom.
You guys are just twins. You have a special twin connection.
Actually, she got 490. And then I did really good on the English, so that was
Okay, right on. And that's your first chance. Okay. All right, how do we feel about this? We've done the same thing twice. Good to move on? Good to move on? All right. Let's look at the difficult question we're going to have to go after. I think part C is the hardest thing we have to face. Now, the reason being, Caltech requires a minimum score between 740 790 to qualify. What percent of students qualify? So here's the deal. If I said you need a 740 score to qualify, what percentage of students qualify, right? You'd be able to work that out in the same process we're doing. This is one of those situations where you have this. If here is 790, here is 740, right? You have 790 is all of this. Your z-score is going to give you a percentage that's talking about, this might be 98%. You're in the 98th percentile, so this is 98% people scored less than you. Okay. Now, that's the first idea to keep in your head. How about this then? 740, when we find that z-score, it might be about 97%. So if I want to know this part, I'm even going to label these for you. If we call this A, we call that B, how do I find what is in between those two things here? If all this is B, all this is A, how do I find just this part? What do you think? Subtract them. Okay. If you could see that you subtract them, then you're in really good shape for this. Because think of it, I would have to shade, if it was 790, I'd have to shade all of that out. If it was 740, I would just shade this portion out. So to find what is in between these two values, I take whatever percentage I get for 790, and I'm just going to subtract out the 740. I'm going to get rid of this part. Okay. So we have two things to do here. We have to do the z-score for the 740. We have to do the z-score for the 790. So go ahead and do those two. Do those two out, find your percentages. All you then have to do is subtract them. In fact, I'll put 790 on the left so that we can even subtract them straight up. 790 minus 512 over 100. Connor, what's the other one?
790.
I moved them. The other one, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you work both those out. Remember, that's the step where you find your z-score. Then use the chart. Find your percentile. Subtract them. So low. So low. For just the math score. The 790 is low?
No,
Should be like in the 98, 99%. Oh, I see. It's like, yeah, it's like 0.68%. Yeah, not many people can get in Caltech. Caltech's hard, man. If you're from LA, you know more about Caltech. It's like the school that's just for people that build satellites. Tesla cars. Yeah. point, and I know that the question's locked. The reason being, Blake, is because before I had 740 to 800, but then people were just saying that the percentage for 800 was 100%. That's not exactly how the problem's going to work out. I didn't want it to be like an easy knowledge, but I think that's a good question. Who else had a hand up? All right, so I'm going to let you keep working on that. I'm just going to ask Jared, what'd you get for the z-score for that 790 score is? 2.78. So that's going to allow us to get our percentage. And what was the z-score for 740? 2.28. So we look on the chart, we get our percentages. We're just going to subtract them. Yeah.
So I got the percentages.
Help me out. What's 790?
That's 99.73.
Okay.
And then 290 for 740.
Yeah.
It's 98.87.
So this range includes very few people. You had to do better than 90, almost 99% to even get into this category. Okay. So I know that this is, remember, 790 is from this point over. Okay. 740 is from this point over, so we're going to subtract these. If we subtract these, 0.86. 0.86. 0.86%. That's it. Less than 1% of people will qualify. That's probably close to true. All right, that's the hardest thing we're going to see. So how do we feel about that one right now? Thumbs up, sideways down. Looking good. I like this confidence. First time we saw it, this was harder, right? And it's been 2 months since we've seen it, 3 months. So I'm really happy to see that. Nice thumbs up. Here's the deal. What is different? I want you to ask your neighbor or tell your neighbor what's different between letter D. What are we doing differently here? What are we doing different for letter D? Just tell your neighbor real quick, like 10 seconds. What's different? For D? Yes, item D. What? Yeah. What? Isn't it the same thing as bigger?
Because we're trying to do trick shot.
All right. All right, good. Emil, help me out. What's different between this one for this one?
You have to work backwards.
You have to work backwards. Everyone hear that one? It's good. So, thank you. Here, what score, what's x sub 1 represents a 99%? Think about it this way. Over here, we had our percentages in percentile. We're going to work backwards on the chart to get our z-score. From there, we're going to set it up here to find our x sub 1. So go ahead and let's look for 99, 0.99. Look on your z-score. See the closest you can get to 0.99. So you're looking in here. Remember, here are all our percentiles. Percentiles are inside. Try to find 0.99. Let's see. There we go. Is it this? It's right there, right?
Yeah, but would it be the one before that? Because you want to include the 990 or no?
We're going to go actually the closest to our z-score. That's a really good question. For different applications, sometimes you go below, but I want you to go just as close as you can get.
Where did they put 0.998 then? Or 999?
I see actually a 0.9901. You see that? It's on the
That's not
2.3 row.
Oh, it's maybe you might be close to the 90.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I see. So you don't want the furthest over, you want the...
I want the closest to that 99%. 99.01 is really close. I can say it's probably close. How do we find this again? I'm looking. It's in the rows, 2.3. What column is this in? 0.03. So we have a 2.33 z-score. All right, so we go from 99%. We get to our z-score. That is 2.33. I mean, from here on out, it's pretty straightforward. Watch. We take our z-score. Let's see. We're going to just erase some things as we go. It's fine. Here's our z-score. Let's look and put in what we know. Do we know the z-score, actual z-score? 2.33. Do we know our average. What was our average in all these problems? 512. Standard D was 100. You have this problem right here. I mean, I want to get to know what x sub 1 is. It's x sub 1 minus 512 divided by 100. So what should I do first? Yeah, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that 100 by multiplying everything, both sides, by 100. You see? See where I'm going? 2.33 times 100 is 233. Just like 2 times 100 would be 200. The 0.33, the decimal just moves. 233 is equal to x sub 1 minus 512. Last step, Brian. What do we do last? 1x sub 1. So I want this by itself, so I want to get rid of. Think about what you want. Yeah. So more so, it sounds like, think of what you want to get rid of. Start with that idea. Plus 512 plus. Color coding fail. Gone, gone. We get x sub 1. The score would be, let's see, 5, 4, 7. Is that easier than you thought? Just going backwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys got this? Thumbs up? Sideways down? That's a lot of thumbs. That's a lot of thumbs. All right. Good deal. We'll just remind the folks at home to subscribe. Sign up your dog. Your cousin is in Missouri. Foreign exchange student in Brazil. Just give me some more subscribers. I need a prize. What was the next prize?
Reach out to that person.
Email.
Drop hints to that one person. Genius. Okay, that's next. That's next. What can they win, though? What's the next thing to win? Next.
Eternal love and gratitude.
Nobody wants that. No. I thought you were saying mine.
Oh.
Yours, yes, of course.
No, but I want that.
I thought you were saying I said that out to him.
Do it again.
I'm sorry to cause so much pain. You see the joke? It was self-deprecating towards myself. Yeah. All right, you get a fake $100 bill if you subscribe. It is worth nothing.
A letter of recommendation.
I'll give you a letter of rec no matter where you live in the world. I'm a great letter of rec giver. All right, that's it.